want to start by saying thank you to everybody at NCSEA, at FSEA, Ben Nelson, Tom Grogan, Ron Milmed, Gene Vogelsang. I mean, just everyone has been such a help and such a support of the young members venture that I kind of ventured into a couple years ago. And this has been a real wild ride. And getting to be here, I'm sure the other scholarship winners can vouch for this, is such an amazing experience. To meet and speak with all of you, it's really, really incredible. And really, it's this experience that I want other young engineers to be able to share in. Getting to meet all of the structural engineers that you meet through the NCSEA MOs is invaluable. You have great role models, great mentors. I'm sure all of the young engineers you employ already have them because they work for you. But you get to meet so many different people. It's just such a great experience. So I just want to start off saying thank you for all the support and for having me here. This is a great experience. So I'm from Florida, unless you saw my name tag. I'm from Florida. I'm part of the Palm Beaches chapter. I live just about an hour north of Miami. And I was asked to talk today about the young members group that I kind of started a couple years ago. It's kind of taken off, and I believe it's been a bit different from some of the other young members groups. I've heard from some of the other states that they have similar young members groups, and that's amazing. Basically, the young members group that we have in Florida is for EIs, some recent PEs, some students. And as Craig Barnes so eloquently put it, there's an evolution that occurs after the university for young engineers. The university does a great job of teaching everybody the basic theories and kind of getting people ready for understanding what their design books say. But you know, you get your first job and you go there and you design something and you cite your concrete textbook, page 282, and your boss looks at you and says, "What are you doing? This is the code, go read it," you know? So there's a whole transition period between graduating from the university and becoming a licensed professional. Luckily, I had a boss when I was still an undergrad that started bringing me to FSEA meetings, and I saw the benefit of going to these meetings very early on. And I've been going since I was a junior in college to these FSEA dinner meetings, not understanding half of what you guys were talking about, but knowing it was important and grabbing all the literature and just going home trying to figure out what was going on, what all these terms were, and you know how I could learn how to be this. And what happened is I graduated the end of 2007. I've heard many people mention what happened in 2008. And that was my first year as an EI, 2008, when really in South Florida the whole housing market bottomed out. There was really nothing to design. And that training that takes place that Craig was talking about with the universities, well, the universities are going to supply these courses, but then it's up to the firms to train the engineer interns. Paid training became a luxury. I mean, you, as an EI, to feel secure, you wanted to make sure that you could produce for your company. So you didn't want to just only learn from your boss. You needed to go home and you needed to learn on your own. You needed to make sure that you were an efficient employee so that you kept your job. There were a lot of structural engineers who had to go get other jobs in other civil disciplines and sit at home at night and say, I can't design grinders the rest of my life. This is disgusting, and I just don't want to do it. So the young members group, nobody said anything, so maybe you don't know what a grinder is, but it is disgusting, and you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. So what we did with this young members group is we just all kind of met up together the same way when you're in the university, you meet up with a study group. And you talk about what you're learning at your job or what you're learning on your own, and you teach one another. And there aren't really any professional engineers in the room, so you don't mind saying stupid things. You bring up, hey, I really don't know what the NDS is. My boss keeps talking about the NDS. What is the NDS? So we'll have the meeting next month where we all bring in our NDS and we share what we've known, what we've learned, what we tab, how we calculate it. Do we use ASD? Do we use LRFD? For some of the EIs, what's the difference? That was a little scary. But really, when you get either undergraduate students and first-year EIs in a room, and you start talking about this, and it's this free discussion zone where you don't have to be embarrassed about what you don't know. You actually are able to talk about what you don't know, and you're able to learn. And it's we started out with 8 members, and now we have almost 50 people on our mailing list. We have meetings once a month outside of the MO meetings. So we have monthly MO meetings. We have a chapter in Florida. I believe that some of the other states don't have chapters. But our Palm Beach chapter within Florida holds monthly dinner meetings on technical subjects. Like a couple weeks prior to those meetings, we have our young members group meetings. And they're either discussion meetings, PE teach-ins, where some of the local structural engineers actually come for an hour, hour and a half, and teach us what their expertise is, so we get a little bit of a taste of what else is out there, because I'm sure you all know that structural engineering is so broad. So you really get to learn about what it is to be a structural engineer. So we do discussion meetings, PE teach-ins. We've been doing contractor teach-ins where we actually go to job sites and the contractor will take us around the site and show us the structural drawings, and we'll get to see how differently it gets built, and why you want to maybe consider how the contractor is going to want to build something before you go through the trouble of designing something they will never, ever, ever do. We do a lot of community service. We do a lot of tutoring for elementary school, middle school, high school. We'll go speak to high schoolers, and actually I wanted to talk to Craig about those sheets that he was showing, because that would be really helpful to pass out when I go speak with high school students that are interested in structural engineering. We provide study groups for young engineers if they're going for the FE, the PE, the SE. The one thing that ended up becoming a staple of our group and attracting a lot of members is the young member workforce. And what it basically was is I said, all right, if you come to 3 meetings, give me your name and contact information, and I'll advertise for you when I go, because the young member chair will go to the MO board meetings, update everybody on what the young members are doing. Don't let your young members go free range. They're still kids. Okay? I mean, I was only a couple years older than these kids, and I was like, whoa, no, don't do that. That's wrong. So when I would go to these board meetings, I would say, hey, I've got some good EIs that are looking for work. And now I believe everyone who's been coming to young members meetings are now employed. And there were some people who were looking for jobs for 8 or 9 months. They'd been graduated for 8 or 9 months, and they hadn't been able to get a job other than like geotechnical inspections. And now they're working at structural firms. And the structural engineers personally come to me whenever they have a job opening, because they want a young member before they want a general public structural engineer intern, because they know that the young members come once a month, they learn on their own, they network, they have a good base, but on top of it, they respect the structural engineering profession. And that's what NCSEA is all about. All of you are such respected professionals in our careers. And it's great to encourage these young engineers to respect their profession, because sometimes the biggest enemy to structural engineering are structural engineers who don't respect our profession. They undercut our prices, they do things that are dangerous, they kind of just give the contractor or the architect or the client what they want. And so by recruiting these members straight out of college, by giving them incentive, giving them a benefit to participating with us, not saying, come sit at a dinner meeting and don't let anybody know you don't know what they're talking about, but to say, hey, come meet with us and you can tell us what you don't know and we'll all talk about it. You get them involved because they want to be involved, and then they're able to be around all of you, and you're able to show them what a great example you are. And once they get their PEs, they just seamlessly transition to the MO meetings, which is what I'm doing. Next year, I'm lucky enough to become on the board of directors for the Palm Beach chapter. So what NCSEA asked me to do was to kind of take the model that I put together in Florida and kind of standardize it, make it simple so that if any of you have any young engineers, any EIs that work for you, if you have a young engineer that works for you, you want the young engineer to be part of a young members group, because trust me, they will become more efficient EIs in a matter of months. And they're going to show you things. I mean, we all are coming out of school, we know the most recent codes. We may not know how to use them yet, but we know about all of them. So it's just a really beneficial experience all around. So I put together this startup guide. I didn't do it on my own. It was a lot of people helping me, a lot of people reviewing it, a lot of people giving me advice. Jason Partain from Alabama, he's trying to put together a young members effort in Alabama, and he gave me some great advice. Brian Decker's been helping me. Brian Decker's from Chicago, and they have a good young members base there as well. And not to mention, we have a whole coordinators board. We changed all the names so it wouldn't be confusing since we operate within the MO. So instead of board of directors, we have coordinator board. Instead of secretary, we have records keeper. Instead of president, we have chair. And all of that's outlined in this guide. So I have this whole coordinators board where we all sat and we put all this together. That's, all their pictures at the bottom. I was trying to give them a little shout out. But I just want to show you what's in this, because like I was saying, if you have a young engineer that you employ, if you have a friend who has a son or a daughter that's graduating in engineering, go talk to them and see if they'd want to start this, and let them know what it is. Give them this packet. It's in the delegate handbook. You can get a printout of it if you want to read it on your flight home. It's going to be on the NCSEA website, so you can download it off the website. And this is modeled so that someone on your board should read it so that they understand what it is. And then they should find a young EI, maybe with 2 to 3 years experience, so they're maybe on the upper end of the curve for the EIs, and see if they want to just send an email blast out and say, hey, come meet over at this office or at the library or at the local university, and we're going to talk about, one topic we had was how to learn as an EI with all of this technology. Because we have these quick deadlines, and everybody needs something really fast. And before, you have to do hand calculations over and over and over again when you were wrong, but now you just have to change your numbers in your Excel spreadsheet or your MathCAD spreadsheet or your BIM? I'm still old-fashioned with all that. I haven't gotten into that yet. But it's hard, because you're expected to produce, but you still have to learn the same amount that everyone was learning before there were, these really quick computer programs. So anyway, you have this meeting and you just have everybody come. Doesn't matter if it's only 2 or 3 people, it'll grow. And what then happens is it trickles down to the students. The students want to get involved because they want to have job security. They want to make sure they can find a job when they graduate. The students will start coming, and then you convince the students to make a student chapter, which is what we did about 5 or 6 months ago. And now we have an FAU, Florida Atlantic University, FSEA student chapter. So I just want to kind of show you guys what's in here so you can see that it's very user-friendly. It's going to be very simple for you guys to go back to your boards, show them this guide, specify one person to read over the guide and kind of be the liaison, the mentor for the young members chair or the young member president, who's going to be coming to the board meetings. So it's got a very, simple layout, how to use the guide. You don't have to follow this strictly. You can follow it strictly, you can follow it loosely. If you follow it strictly, it's going to be much easier than following it loosely, but if you only do what it says, you're not getting very creative with it. And you should really tailor this to the needs of the EIs in your area, because it might be very different from South Florida. South Florida, we had a shortage of structural engineer intern positions. So we were literally having that evolution process where we were supposed to be taught by our bosses, by teaching each other and having an amazing board of professional engineers who were coming in and actually teaching us. It might be that in your area, you're doing a little bit better. You have EIs where everyone's able to teach their employees. And in that case, they all just teach each other the different components of structural engineering. Maybe one firm only does wood design. Maybe one firm does concrete design. Maybe one firm does structural steel. So you get all of that experience. go into what a young members group is, why should you start a young members group, which is basically what I'm talking about today, how is the group organized, what services can your group offer, which I want to mention that an interesting side effect of the young members group was at the very first meeting, I had everybody, there were 8 people who came, I had everybody go around the room and introduce themselves, who they work for, what they do, what they were interested in, what they wanted to get from the young members group. And almost every single person was like picking their nails while they're talking or looking around or saying every other word. And I felt like a teacher at that point, so I wanted to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Come on. Like, so anyway, at the end of our first year of being a group, the FSEA State Board had their board meeting in Palm Beach County, and the state board members came to meet with us. And I said, all right, we're all going to go around the room, we're going to introduce ourselves. And every one of them was able to look around the room, introduce themselves, say what their areas of expertise, which, you know, would be laughable for you guys, but their areas of expertise, where they could strengthen, you know, what they're looking forward to asking the board members about. And they were able to speak to them, look them in the eyes, you know, no one's playing with their hands, no one's looking around. It really helps an EI grow, become more confident, improve their presentation skills. And that's why I say, you know, if you have young engineers, you want them to be a part of a group like this because it's going to help your firm. I can't imagine it not helping your firm. So this just lays out some of the benefits. And then here's really the meat of everything, how to start a local young members group. And what I did was, you know, I got really technical with it because I'm an engineer, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to make an outline. I made this really long outline of this will be perfect if you can do all this stuff. And then I gave it to the young member who's going to be the chair next year. And I said, read over this outline and see if you can do this. And he came back and he was like, you know, it's a lot of good information, Heather. It's a long outline. And he's like, can you sum it up? I said, oh, yeah, sure. Okay. So at the very beginning, I summed it up. We have a year structure where every year we change. We have a chair. After a year becomes the past chair. The next year, the records keeper becomes the chair. So you have 3 essential people who are at almost every meeting. So that way you kind of have a look in the past, a look in the present, a look in the future. And the way I set it up is I don't know if you're going to start in January, February, March, April, May. So I just did month 1, month 2, month 3, the month 4 through 12. So if you can follow this, and this is the part where I'm saying, you know, you could follow it strictly or loosely. If you want someone to just kind of be able to set this up, they can just follow this schedule. If they read it and say, you know what, I don't want to have so many PE teach-ins, or I want to have more PE teach-ins, just change it up a little bit. But this is a good structure for getting set up and getting set up efficiently, because what this does is it eliminates a lot of the trials and errors of our young members group in Florida. And one thing that was a big thing that we had to figure out was the structure of everything, because we're all EIs. Some of them, most of the members were getting married. They're starting their lives. They're starting their business careers. They don't have a lot of time to sit and try to figure out how all this works. So this is a good way to kind of make it more time efficient for the members who are going to be starting the group. And then if you want to read through all the detail, I left it in there because, you know, I worked hard on it. And then this is another great thing about the guide. It's the position descriptions. Again, follow it strictly, follow it loosely. We give recommendations for the role and the qualifications. And that way you have people who are qualified to be in it, even though, you know, we're all EIs. There are different levels of EIs. Trust me, there are different levels of EIs. We tried to do a meeting on ASCE 7 and how to determine what exposure category you were in, because we're in Florida. And now with ASCE 710, they introduced exposure D again. So we were all trying to go through that. We didn't get to it because we had too many questions on what an exposure category was. So, I mean, these are the questions that your EIs have that they don't necessarily want to let you know that they have. And so now the questions get answered and you get more responsible engineers because of it, because they're not just hiding the fact that they might not fully understand something. So it goes through all of the coordinator positions that you could or should have. And then I also included, just for your convenience, some typical forms and documents, a mailing list, an event request form, so that, because this is really a group that is inspired by the members. It should reflect what the members need. So they can request events, a study group sign up, they can check if they're going for the FE, PE, SE, PE teach-in sign up. Maybe you guys will see some of these. I would really encourage you guys to sign up to try to volunteer and go teach them what you've been doing at your company. This is a brochure just to give you guys an example of how you could make a brochure to advertise yourself. And then, because we had so many questions about things like this, I included snapshots of how to set up a lot of the communication tools that I talk about in the guide. So this is a tool for how to set up a Gmail account. Maybe the young members already know this, but this could be helpful to the overall organization. How to set up a LinkedIn group, how to open a Dropbox account. We have all of our stuff in Dropbox so that we can all just keep track of everything. A Doodle, this is a great program for scheduling events. If we have Habitat for Humanity coming up and they have all the Saturdays open in November, we just set up a Doodle where it's everybody goes and votes on which Saturday is the best, the one with the most votes wins, and then we know that we're going to maximize our volunteer opportunities. Doodle is a great thing. So this is all in the delegate handbook. You can ask for a hard copy. You can get it off the internet at the NCSEA website. And I went way over time, but apparently that was okay. So do I have time to ask if? Time for questions. Okay. So are there any questions?